Now I would like to introduce Reverend Matt May, who will now deliver today's Dharma message. Good morning. Please join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandab, 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 Namandab. Those transitions are trouble. As we all know as members of the Sangha, we have been through another Bonodori and are going to enjoy each other's company for the Sangha Bonodori. And it's mandatory to give a Dharma talk about Moggallana for Bonodori. So I'm going to do that, but because this is for the Sangha, I'm going to do a little deeper dive into Moggallana himself, because I feel like the story is told and we hear it, we kind of know the beats of this of the story of Moggallana, and that Bonodori, the word obon, comes from urabon, which comes from Yulan Pen in Chinese, which comes from ulambana, and there's all of this the story of this the main beats are Moggallana sees that his mother is in the land of hungry ghosts, and comes to the Buddha distressed, and the Buddha says basically that you need to undergo a great amount of work because her karma is so heavy that you alone can't bring her back from the land of the hungry ghosts. And Moggallana goes ahead and does that, and then he's so relieved to see her out of the land of hungry ghosts that he starts dancing, and then everybody is dancing, and that's what we get Bonodori from. And that's a good 2-minute story for this, but there are lots more pieces to this that I think are that we miss in giving the basic talk. So I went and read the Ulambana Sutra, and first off, I want to mention Moggallana himself isn't a random person in Buddhist history, right? We tell a lot of these stories that are where there's somebody that comes to the Buddha with something. I think the story of Kisa Gotami is an important one. Now, Kisa Gotami was the wife of a rich merchant, and her son had died, and she goes to the Buddha to say, please help me with this son. Now the Buddha knows what you need, had 84,000 different ways of allowing people to reach enlightenment, and knows that she's not going to get the whole Buddhist canon as the story of what just happened here. And so basically sends her off on a task that's impossible, right? A wild goose chase. Find 3 mustard seeds of someone who's died. We have stories that are meant to tell a higher truth. In Buddhism, we call that upaya, skillful means. The Buddha is using a way of teaching somebody for where they are right now. Moggallana is not just some normal person off the street in India at the time. In fact, if we open our books, you don't have to, but I'll open it for you. In our books, in Amida Kyo, at the very beginning of Amida Kyo, of the sutra, we're naming off, name checking all of these bodhisattvas that are in attendance for this story that Shakyamuni Buddha is telling about Amida Buddha. And if we look, we hear Sharihoten, so Shariputra, who is sort of the number 2 in the hierarchy of Buddhism at the time. And if we look immediately after that, this part isn't translated, but if we see about 3rd line here, we see Choro Sharihoten, which is basically the eminent Shariputra. The next name that is listed is Makamokenren. That's Moggallana, right? Moggallana at this time is basically the 3rd most enlightened person alive in Buddhism, right? Not just somebody that's randomly there. Now, his skills are such that he has risen to such a level of enlightenment that he is able to look into the other realms of the Buddhist universe, right? So he can look and he can see the land of he can see like Tushita heaven. He can see the hungry ghosts. He can see the warrior realm. All of these, the animals, he can look in and see this. And so what he does is he's going and checking on his parents. And he sees his father, and his father is in the heavenly realm. Great. Then he goes and sees his mother, and he sees that his mother is in the realm of hungry ghosts. This isn't just a story that's being told. The story of the Ulambana Sutra is he is actually going and seeing his mother suffering. And so when he comes to the Buddha, this enlightened being is distressed. He is seeing his mother, who is withered down to skin and bones, and being told that she's going to spend a kalpa, like eons, in this land where the food that he's trying to feed her will turn into charcoal before it reaches her mouth. Right? Now, what the Buddha says at that moment is something that's devastating for somebody of that level to hear, which is, you can't save her. You are not able, you don't have the right, basically, to change this person's merit, this person's karma for her. Not even I, Shakyamuni Buddha, can do this thing. This is just something that it's I guess kind of good news, I guess, because if we were to say that the religious leaders can just kind of poof, everything goes away, right? Then we almost kind of are changing the universe around us. Like we're breaking the laws. And the Buddhist law says that we can't absolve people of the karmic debt that they have. Now, there's a lot more to this even as well. But what he says to Moggallana is actually, there's this day called Pravarana Day, which actually in the sutra says it falls on the 15th day of the 7th month, right? For us, that would be the middle of July. It actually is kind of later in the year, could be August, September, October, depending on where you are in Asia at the time. But it's the time when basically the Mahasangha, the great Sangha of all of these really highly enlightened beings, people that the Buddha himself had brought into enlightenment, all come and gather together. They come out down from the mountains, from all around the area. And what the Buddha tells Moggallana to do is to gather up 4 huts full of hundreds of flavors of foods so that all of these enlightened beings can together pray for this one Moggallana's mother, who's in the land of hungry ghosts. And so he goes ahead and does that. And when they gather, the Buddha tells them all, essentially, you can have all this food after you pray for Moggalli. So the message of this is kind of one of the core messages of Mahayana Buddhism. It doesn't matter how far one individual advances. The only way that we can move forward is by going together. I think that part is really it's an amazing story that comes underneath all of this. And the other message is one of respecting our elders, like respecting the generations that come before us. Because once this happens, Moggallana comes back and asks Shakyamuni Buddha a question. And this happens in some other sutras. He's like, I'm glad you asked that question. You know? And he says, this is the way that we respect all of the generations that came before us. That our 7 generations of ancestors benefit from us basically giving alms to the great Sangha of people. It gives an individual this kind of presence in participating in Buddhism, by saying, if you can't become one of these great beings that has attained enlightenment, you can dedicate your work here to helping others. And coming from this, from the perspective of somebody that's been to a lot of bonodoris, right? There's a reason that we all have to get together and do this thing after the fact to get to do this, because we're all working really hard at the thing that we're supposed to be doing in Bonodori, right? We are providing an event for people, and especially for people who are experiencing a Hatsubon, it's the first Bonodori after a family member has died. It's a really important thing that we do. Even if we're just hauling tons of rice back and forth through this, we are giving people a moment where they can reconnect themselves to both their families and to the tradition of Buddhism. So I hope that this gives you a little bit more context to this. And this is, again, just like we're just scratching the surface. There is an entire academic history of scholarship on this sutra alone. But I hope that this has given you some more information about what it is that we are appreciating and celebrating in Bonodori. So with that, thank you for coming. Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, 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 Namanda.